When you're packaging so much into a car, it becomes a game of millimeters.
There's always something with a new car build that will hold you up.
We would need to try to move the engine towards the center of the car. We are in the final assembly process.
We're getting pretty close now to being able to fire it up for the first time.
Generally, you spend so long designing the car, developing the car, building the car. There's a lot of milestones in that. Like, it's nice when you first get the chassis done, the body panels run. You know, second biggest milestone is when it finally starts up and runs. Like, it's alive, you know?
Hugely exciting when the car first starts off because it's an idea, and when it hits the ground and actually runs, you know, that's when your idea is now reality. It's a huge amount of pride for the whole building.
For me, the real milestone is like competition debut, when it's actually publicly debuted. That's like the next big thing.
We check the engine as much as we can, but there are still a lot of mapping that need to be done when we put the engine into the full car system.
On the chassis dyno, we're increasing the load in steps so we can increase the load and the RPM over time and just make sure all the systems are correct. Sometimes we find some bugs here, and if we can find them here, that'll save time during the testing.
Well, it's when you press, you can see it's slightly doing. Dyno is a baby step, and we'll have a lot of baby steps to do before being ready to introduce this car in a race.
Once everything's correct, then we'll run the car on the stand, spin the wheels, make sure all the systems are working correctly. And we just took it outside. First time to turn a wheel there. Just doing some light cruising to make sure everything feels okay. There's no funny noises or any issues that we could find.
We have planned an extensive test program in order to make sure that all the new things will work when put together. But a race environment is different from the test. When you race a car for the first time, then you will discover still some problems.
Yeah, even the technicians will have a hard time transitioning to a new spec. It's natural. What we want to worry about is it competitive against the cars that we're going to fight against.
We have some advantages, they have some advantages. At the end, only the stopwatch will tell.
There's a lot of pressure here.
We can feel the pressure, definitely. Today is what we call a shakedown.
The main target is to check all the parameters, you know, all the basic things that we want to check, if everything works well.
Basically, it's a system check, and then tomorrow we'll move to a different track where we can reach some high speeds.
It's very important to do it because that's the first time we run this car and there is a lot of things to discover.
The real aim of those 2 coming days is making sure the car is 100% ready to then go on the next step, which would be gravel stages.
To be honest, we are delighted from what we see. Out of the box, it was already giving some good feelings, some good impression to the driver.
It's really cool to be here with the Subaru guys, and the car feels super, super good compared to the other car already, so I'm really excited to kind of get going and to hand this over to Brandon.
We got to keep to a schedule, so we're here doing the shakedown, but we're still designing and building parts for this car. Yeah, we've got molds and that we need to be laid up still, and parts are still going on the car. So
This is our outgasser here. So when he's mixing it, he's introducing a lot of bubbles into it, so that's why we have to throw it in there. Eliminates all the bubbles from the resin, and that creates a nicer part. We'll throw this in there, open up the valve, and this will all wet out uniformly.
it's a developing process, and like I said, we just got to stick to the schedule.
Second day testing, it's going really well so far. Car feels really good. Raining again, but just makes it more fun to slide around, and super excited to be in this thing again.
In the testing, it's trying to pull out all those bugs, all these potential issues we can.
Maybe it's the higher speeds, but the car feels much smoother.
You could see the air coming out from underneath the car and around the wheels. At 30 miles an hour, it gave you a visual of 100 miles an hour. It's a new take on a rally car in America.
And this is something new to try to understand and find all those little details.
We discovered through the GoPro that the engine is moving. If the engine is moving, why is it moving? Because we have some brackets that are supposed to take care of that. I told the team this morning that this car is not proven at all. Perhaps it's 10% proven and we want to reach 100%.
The firewall, the bulkhead, is sheet metal, and that was flexing.
Then basically the bracket and bushings that are supposed to hold the engine, that is linked to the firewall, and the firewall was moving. So we had to react pretty quickly to increase the strength of the firewall.
So a reinforcement was made on the backside of the bulkhead to reduce that movement. Also, the transmission mount was reinforced, and the engine mounts were redesigned.
All that really happened in a 3-day time period. That was a big push, but that was really needed to go to the gravel test in a better way.
We're here on some private test roads. We've got our new 23R rally car out here. First time it's seen gravel, so we picked a location that kind of suits fast stuff and technical stuff, so we can switch it up by the day. I'm on the forefront of location scouting, and that is based off of what the engineers tell me they want to do. If they tell me, Dan, we really need to start not too rough roads, but good technical roads. I have kind of a database in my mind. I know where those roads are, and I make a few calls, and that's how we ended up in Ohio. Brandon and Keaton are here. They've got a lot of seat time now in the current car, and they're best to help us develop this new car. He is able to really find the small details in a quick manner.
Secret test number 1. The first initial test with the 23R. Pretty excited. This is the first time I've even seen the car, so attention to detail is insane. This thing is, very, very different than what we've been driving, so it's going to be interesting to get in and actually see how it drives. So hopefully soon here, once we've got kind of the driver and co-driver seat positions dialed and some little things. Yeah, that's already better. I mean, I feel more comfortable. Yeah. The idea is to shake it down as much as possible to get it event ready, so miles is important. Figure out what needs to get fixed, or if anything's, there's a weak point anywhere, this is a place to sort it out.
So this is a 4-day test on 2 or 3 different roads here in Ohio. And from here, we'll have a secondary test and then a 3rd test. So in total, we'll have between 15 and 20 actual test days into this chassis before it ever sees competition.
It's a very different job for a driver to be a test driver and to be a race driver. And I was personally very impressed by his feedback. For sure, after the first test, we were quite reassured.
It's the first time that Brandon and I are both developing a new car. And not all rally drivers can be test drivers. That's the fact. But I feel like Brandon's doing a real good job at the minute. He's developing information and the communication to the team in which they know which direction we need to go at.
And then lean on the engineers to get, make the right change and take the next step, because obviously they see the bigger picture. Definitely a big task at hand.
All left, tighten minus, ditch out, 30, flip 4 right, tighten, minus long, 30, 3 left plus.
First day testing was pretty good. Only went through one set of tires, so it wasn't as much mileage as I'm sure we'll do the next few days, but overall good start, good feeling.
Brandon's driving style, like I'm sure a lot of you have seen what he's like on a bike, how precise he is, inch perfect. He's got this opportunity because of course he's now a test driver and he's got to give the engineers as much feedback as he can. I think this car's going to be an absolute animal. He's got serious potential.
Yeah, so day 2, this will be a bigger day for the test for sure. Yesterday was very much just a shakedown, and today it's gonna be a lot more miles, and we get to try a lot of suspension settings and some other components on the car. So I'd say the chassis is the focus. There's definitely some more changes with engine, but we're trying to just reach that basic setup and then start fine tuning from there.
Well, we know where we are at with the current car. So because we are on this season, we are just racing with one, we can use the second one as a test mule.
Which is quite interesting because the feeling I'm getting in the new car is something different, and it's showing a lot of potential. So jumping in the old car was an interesting kind of experiment. There was definitely some aspects where I think the new car is performing better already, so that is positive. But yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
Honestly, right now I'm not really trying to find pace. I'm really trying to find the right balance for the car. It's unbalanced right now, which is completely normal for a brand new car. We need to narrow down this aspect of the car to then be able to go deeper in fine-tuning to then find the performance.
About 3/4 of the way through day 2 right now, when we finally had our first real kind of failure on the car. Just a gasket on the steering rack has pushed out and lost a lot of fluid. But this is normal. In testing, especially with the development of a brand new car like this, you find a lot of little things that can, need some work. So the fact that we've made it a day and a half before seeing even one issue is just a testament to the hard work and the development the guys have put into the car so far.
We have to put ourselves in the condition where if something fails, it will fail during the test. That's the most important thing.
And I'm not ashamed to say that on a brand new car, 98% of the components have been designed from scratch, that we did mistakes. It's part of the process.
And if nothing breaks, then people assume you didn't push the envelope hard enough.
The challenge was then we were in rural Ohio. We were able to work with Pat Morrow. He helped us organize the roads, and since he's building rally cars, maintaining them, he had a shop and he had some network of people that could help us.
If you need, I can get John if you have the drawing, then we can email it to John right now. I can see if John can start working on it right now.
That's a little bit the world of rallying, where there's a lot of solidarity between all competitors,
And that's how things are working, and it's super powerful, and I like this spirit, right? At the end of the day, even if we are competitors, we all want to have fair competition.
No, we'll get it figured out.
You don't want to drive us back late tonight?
No, not at all.
Okay.
So we are doing some new parts to secure the seal that went out from the steering rack. Our supplier is in Europe, so I managed to, because of the time difference, I managed to catch him. They sent us some modification drawing, and we could apply some of this modification today already.
So we've had a problem with the circlip coming out that holds in the seal gland at the end of the steering rack. So we've machined a little keeper that will bolt to the end of the seal gland once we drill and tap that, and it slides in there so that the circlip can't compress and have the whole seal gland pop out like it did today.
In this case, we were supported by Pat, and that's great to find a workshop there and to have his help, even though he's a competitor.
I think rally's a tight-knit motorsport, even relative to other motorsports, even relative to smaller motorsports. Rally's, it's a It's a small family of people, and there's competitiveness, but really we're all in this together.
We want fair competition. If we can help to an extent, we will always be helping people.
As Simon used to say, it's never a good day if you go to bed the same day you woke up. A little tired, but mission accomplished. It seems like everything so far is working quite well that we fixed last night.
There's still a long way to go with this car, but I think this will give us a good baseline. We can kind of go home, sleep on what we've learned from this, and come to the second test with a lot more ideas and a lot more direction.
Where we were starting out day one with that car was almost basically where we were at the end of the life of the last car. So already equal. Without any setup, without any evolution, without any work done to it, like out of the box, equal to the last car.
40, 6 right, open 50.
And we know there's so much potential that will be tapped into as we test and develop and tune it. So when you're at a race, you know, the first rally, you've minimized as much risk of durability, reliability problems as much as you can. The testing program, I think, is solid enough to give us a confidence that we're going for the win right out of the box.
We've tested in multiple days in 3 locations, and we're really trying to have a package that's ready.
Again, the aim is to test on different conditions.
Because we got some rough roads, and we got some fast roads, and we got some roads with lots of jumps and compressions.
Stages are rough, and at some point they are getting too rough.
If you're running a Subaru any other color than blue and yellow, it's not a factory effort.
We expect to win, but we also have to be realistic that it's a brand new car.
If it looks as good as it goes, then we should be going well.
It's all top secret stuff in here. You can't be watching this stuff.